My name is Taidy, and I'm 8 years old. I live in a city that adults call progress. But for me, it's a city where no one dares to stop. Everyone rushes to think, rushes to be, as if slowing down would leave them behind. And I started to wonder, where exactly is the comfort everyone talks about? My mother always says, if you want to be comfortable when you're older, you have to be patient now. And how much hardship is enough?
My mother speaks seriously, as if the world is chasing us. But the neighbor laughs, as if the world has no reason to rush. He says, life is short. Don't waste it on exhaustion. Tidy. So what's the right way to live? I look at both of them. One tries relentlessly. The other lets everything slide. But strangely, both seem tired in their own way. Or maybe there's no way out without a sacrifice?
That day, I met 2 friends. Tiny ants that never stop working, and the grasshopper that never stops smiling. Ant, we must prepare. Grasshopper, we must live. Their words were so short, but powerful enough to make me think all day. So, which is right? One chooses the future. One chooses the present. And I still don't know that their choice is about to change the answer for the entire town.
I sat down between the ant and the grasshopper. I tried to listen carefully. The ant spoke slowly but calmly, as if it had thought every word through. I will accumulate. The grasshopper spoke simply but softly, as if it had nothing to worry about. I will live. 2 answers, 2 ways of living. And I began to feel that the word choose wasn't as simple as adults like to say. I asked, what if I make a mistake?
The ant answered immediately. Then I will accept the consequences. As if it accepted whatever happened. The grasshopper laughed. Then I will change direction. As if the world always offered choices. Tidy. But does everyone have equal opportunities? I began to doubt. If everyone could make mistakes equally, why do some people fall and get back up, but others fall and disappear completely? I looked at the 2 paths in front of me. They seemed equally open. But deep down, I knew that they never started from the same point. And perhaps the word choice wasn't fair from the start. The stage in the city center was so bright I had to squint. The music was so loud I could feel the ground shaking. The grasshopper stood in the center, surrounded by light, sound, and the smile everyone wanted to have. "One more song! One more song!" the crowd shouted. Everyone looked so happy. The cheers grew louder, as if happiness was being amplified endlessly. And in that moment, I almost believed that the person being seen was the most important. I turned to the other side, where no one was looking. It was beside the stage, so close, yet so far away. Ants were dragging a large pile of food under the feet of the dancing people. Someone accidentally stepped on it, but no one stopped to check. I rushed over, asking softly, "Does it hurt?" The ant shook its head. Its answer was very short. "I'm used to it." I froze. The words "used to it" sounded like endurance. But deep down, it was like something was slowly disappearing. I shouted up to the stage, "Grasshopper, The ants are working hard. I wanted someone to look at me. The grasshopper paused for a second before smiling back. Everyone has their own role, Taidy. Its answer was simple. The whole crowd chuckled softly. Like I said, it was too strange for this place. Taidy. So, is that really enough? I stood in the middle, between the cheers and the unheard silence. And I just understood that sometimes doing the right thing doesn't make you visible. In my school, there's a big sign that reads, "Effort never betrays." But beneath that sign, someone is silently bowing their head. There are no loud cries, only a palpable tension that fills the room. The teacher checks homework. Anyone who hasn't completed it, stand up. Why is it so strangely quiet here? I'm starting to feel that some beautiful words might not tell the whole story. The ant slowly stands up. Even though it tries to complete everything every day, today it only managed to be almost complete. The teacher asks, "Why?" The ant replies, "I am a little tired." Its answer is so soft, it almost fades into thin air. But the teacher's answer is clear and weighty. The teacher speaks in a calm voice. The real world doesn't care about your tiredness. The whole room falls silent instantly. It's as if everyone has just been reminded that effort might not be enough. I clench my fists. Then what does the world care about? The teacher looks at me. The results. After school, I walk beside the ant. I don't understand why the person who tried the hardest still feeling unsatisfied. Taidy, you're so good. Why are you still getting scolded? Maud smiled faintly. It was as if she understood something that I still didn't understand. Because the word enough in this world keeps shifting. I was silent. And in that moment, I began to realize that if we chase after other people's definition of enough, we might never truly stop. The grasshopper led me to a wide open space, filled with laughter and music. Grasshopper. There's no effort required here. Taidy. Just being yourself? Is that enough? Food was laid out. People were sharing. Everything seemed easy and light. I sat down, laughed, and ate. It was as if all weariness vanished. See, Taidy? The grasshopper leaned back. Life doesn't have to be hard. I nodded. At that moment, I almost believed that happiness could be found without effort. But my gaze stopped at a corner where there was no laughter. A grasshopper sat silently. No one spoke to it. I walked over and asked, "Isn't it fun?" It gave a dry laugh. It is fun, except I don't know what I'll eat tomorrow. Its answer made me pause. The happiness here was still there, but its future was empty. And I began to feel that something was being hidden beneath that laughter. I returned to the grasshopper. I asked a question that I was beginning to fear the answer to. Is this place really that good? There was a moment of silence before a soft reply. It's good, as long as there's something to use. Its answer wasn't wrong, but it was unsettling. I looked around again. The laughter was still there, but this time I heard something else in between. Some kind of happiness hadn't disappeared, but it was waiting to reclaim itself. The cool breeze turned into a chilling cold. Food disappeared from the courtyard. The courtyard, once filled with laughter, was now eerily silent. I walked past the people who used to dance. Now they sat motionless. Some began arguing. Why not share? I have nothing left either. What happened? The laughter vanished first. It was as if all the joy had run its course. I saw a grasshopper. It looked at its hands, as if just realizing it had nothing left. Its voice trembled, unlike the days when it laughed. Taidy. Its voice trembled. I didn't think it would happen so quickly. I held its hand, but in my heart I knew my small hands might be of no help. We'll find a way. And this was the first time. What I felt was that the phrase, "things will get better," isn't as easy as it sounds. I went to see the ants, who still had food, order, and a plan, but no laughter. Taidy asked, "Can you help the grasshopper?" I asked it with a glimmer of hope. The ant was silent for a long time before answering. If I help everyone, I won't have anything left. Its answer wasn't cruel, but it was too true. Taidy, so what should we do? I stood in the middle between survival and not abandoning each other. And in that moment, I understood that some questions in life have no answer that doesn't hurt. That night, the ant collapsed. Not because it had nothing, but because it never stopped. I sat beside it. My heart was so heavy, I could barely speak. Taidy, you did everything right. The ant smiled weakly. Yes, but I forgot that I also have my limits. The one who tried the hardest was the one who fell first. And I began to realize that doing the right thing doesn't always guarantee survival. On the other side, grasshoppers sat in a circle with their friends. There wasn't much food, but they still shared. No one had enough, but no one was left behind. "We will survive together," one of them said. Even with so little? I stood watching. Tears slowly streamed down my face. The world that said you had to be strong to survive turned out that just having someone by your side might be enough to survive too. I stood in the middle between two realities. One was the effort that crumbled. Another thing is the relationship that's still being held together. Taidy, so we've been taught wrong all along? Silence. Or we still don't understand everything. My question floated away, but no one answered. Not because there were no answers, but because some answers were too heavy for anyone to accept. And that night, I didn't understand the world any better, but I began to realize that the world was more complex than adults had told me. I sat in the middle between the recovering ant and the grasshopper who had just discovered fear. Both were still alive, but no longer the same. The grasshopper said, "I'm afraid there will be nothing left." The ant replied, "I'm afraid I won't have the strength to use what I have." Taidy, so what should we really be afraid of? One fears loss, the other fears giving up. And I began to understand that fear doesn't take sides. I looked at them both and asked, why do we have to hurt before we understand? The ant chuckled softly. Because before we hurt, we thought we controlled everything. The grasshopper nodded. And then when we hurt, we realized we never controlled anything. I closed my eyes. The voices of the adults still echoed in my head. The teacher's voice, the the mother's voice, the city's voice. Every voice said the same thing. Try hard enough, and you will be safe. But now I know that the word safe may not really exist. There is only those who are ready to accept the truth and those who are still trying to run away from it. I opened my eyes and looked at the world again. It hadn't gotten easier, but I began to see it more clearly. I spoke softly to myself, like choosing my own path for the first time. If comfort comes with a price, then perseverance must know when to stop. And perhaps the most important lesson in life isn't choosing the right path from the start, but knowing when to continue and when to stop. Everything is slowly returning to normal, but the city isn't the same. Some people are starting to work less. Some are starting to save more money. But most are still the same. Still running, still comparing, still afraid of not having enough. Is everything really back to normal? We have to hurry or we'll miss out! I stood still, watching everyone go by, and began to realize that something had really changed. Not the city, but my feelings. I sat beside my mother, in the house, which was quieter than outside. My question was soft. Are you tired, Mom? But my mother's answer was heavy. She smiled. Yes, but I can't stop. But I saw the weariness in her smile. And when I asked my final question, when will it be enough? She didn't answer. Not because she didn't want to answer, but because she didn't know how to answer. That was the first time I understood that adults themselves have questions, that they don't dare ask themselves. And maybe that's the reason they keep running. Time passed without anyone announcing anything. The ants began to rest. They were still diligent, but not torturing themselves. The grasshoppers began to plan. They were still having fun, but not reckless. Both were still themselves, but not the same. Taidy, you two have changed. I just stopped to keep up with myself. Grasshopper, I just started thinking about tomorrow. It was as if they hadn't chosen a new path, but learned to live with the old path and to be better at it. I stood watching silently and asked the same question. So, who won? Or, no one has to win. But this time, no one answered. No trophies, no applause, no one's name was called. Everything was silent, but not empty. And in that silence, I began to understand. The true winner might not be the one who arrived first, but the one who no longer needed to prove anything to anyone. In a city that never rests, I still walk, slowly. Not as fast as the ants, not as fun as the grasshopper, but I'm beginning to understand that if you want to be comfortable, don't tire of perseverance. And if we truly want to be happy, perhaps we need to learn both how to fight and how to stop.